Hello and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Derek and we have John here who will be doing the presenting. Our presentation is about new features introduced in Chief Architect X8. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few things with our audio setup in our GoToMeeting system. If you're watching this as a live GoToMeeting, you have some options for setting up the audio, and by default you'll have your mic and speakers selected. You can see that here on your screen. We recommend that you use this setup so that you can hear the presentation through your computer speakers or headphones if you have those plugged in. If you are having trouble with your audio, you can select the telephone option here, and if you select that option you'll be given a telephone number that you can call, and that will join you to hear this meeting through a conference call. Bear in mind that everybody is muted to help with the audio quality of our presentation. So if you want to ask questions, we do have the option for you to send questions through our questions section of the meeting. So in this area, if it's not expanded, we can expand that. Type in your question here and hit send. Give us time to reply to those. We have a number of people in our meeting here, but we will be getting to answer all of your questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to let John take over here, and let's get started with the new features in X8.
We have quite a few items to cover in our presentation today, taking a look at new features and enhancements to existing features in the user interface, editing tools in our library browser, working with camera tools, schedules and materials list, dimension tools, layout, framing and roof, walls, stairs, doors and windows, and cabinets. We'll start off by taking a look at changes to the system itself and user interface. If you'd like to use a 3D mouse, we now have support for the 3D Connexion mouse as your input device to efficiently navigate in camera views. Our CAD performance has been enhanced. We've improved navigation in 2D views with large amounts of CAD objects. And there have been improvements to Collada export, handling groups and materials for use in a wider variety of applications. Take a look at my layer set management. You now have the ability to rename a layer set even if that layer set is currently in use. I'll select my terrain set and I'll rename that my landscaping set. You can also create archived zip files. When we go to backup entire plan, there's now an option to send the backup files to a zip archive. Go to my documents and I'll create the backup for this. And there's no need to create a new folder this way. Click Save, and all of the referenced files are put into a single zipped folder and ready for me to either archive or send to somebody else for use in their Chief Architect. We've also improved the handling of missing graphic files. Take a camera view looking into my kitchen. We'll find that there are a couple of files that are missing. You can tell from the information in here what library those originally came from. In this case, both of the missing items are from the Bonus Outdoor Rooms catalog. So I can go to the website then, download the Bonus Outdoor Rooms catalog, install that catalog. Once that catalog's been installed, I'll regenerate that camera view, and the missing files have been replaced. You have the option to replace the missing item with something from the library, or to delete the object that's in the plan that has the missing texture. And we've also added special character support. User accounts and files using accented Western letters can be used for most interactions in the software. You can now set heights for objects by absolute or relative position. When editing most objects, specify the height or offset based on an absolute location in plan or the object's relative position to other plan locations. If we go up to floor 2 and create a slab here, select it and open it up, we can choose the floor to top and floor to bottom elevations, but we can also now choose the reference point. Is it going to be from the floor, an absolute value, finished floor, terrain, offset from ceiling, or offset from roof? Looking at other objects, you'll find the same types of controls. Base cabinet, for example. Distance from finished floor to top, finished floor to bottom, or change that elevation reference to floor to top or absolute. The break line tool has added functionality. We've included a sticky mode. Click on sticky mode and it allows me to continually add breaks to our polyline. You'll see two other controls there also. One to turn off the corner edit handles and one to turn on or off the edge edit handles. We've also improved the edit handle interface. I'll place a framing object here and zoom in on it. When I select it now, all of the edit handles that are applicable to that remain on screen. The rotate handle is here and the move handle as well. When working with our CAD tools, you'll notice that the Edit Object Parts tool is no longer here. It's been replaced with a toggle to connect CAD segments. If I begin drawing CAD lines, when the two lines connect, they form a polyline. I have the ability now to turn off Connect CAD segments. I can still continue to draw line segments that are connected to each other, but they don't form a polyline. If I have a polyline object and I'd like to be able to edit a specific part of that, like the Edit Object Part used to work, select that edge, and there's an edit tool to allow me to disconnect the selected edge from the rest of the polyline. Click on that, and that piece is now separate from the remainder of the polyline. We've also added new scoping tools for the Object Painter. They function very similar to the scope tools for the Material Painter. Use the Object Painter on an object, and you have the choice to set how the impact of your changes will be made, whether it's just a single object, all objects on the floor, or all objects like that in the plan. Let's turn now to the library catalogs, the library browser, and library content. If you select a symbol in your plan or in the library, open up the symbol specification. You now have the ability to turn on the UCS on that object so that we can see the origin of that object and understand where it moves when we make changes to that origin offset. If we do a search in our library, exact matches are now sent to the top of the list, so items with that exact word are shown in their list first. You also have the ability to export your entire user catalog as opposed to just individual library folders within that catalog. Right-click on the user catalog and export the entire thing all at once. If we select a symbol in the library, in addition to being able to adjust the symbol properties, we can edit the specifications for this, like the layer and label, and save that information with the object in the library browser. And if we're searching for plants, one of the added features here is that we can limit our search to 3D plants, plant images, or both. The functionality of the cross-section slider tool has been enhanced as well. We can now choose up to 6 different cutting planes and adjust the distance for each plane to create an individual and unique view. Choose to cut from the top, from the right side, and from the left side, and then make individual adjustments to each one of these to show just the view that we want to show. Zoom out and pan around a little bit. And we've also added the ability to use new 3D focus tool. Select the 3D focus on object tool and click on an object to focus the view right on that object. Zoom back out. You can also select items, either individually or group select, And in the Edit toolbar, click on the Focus on Selected Item tool to focus just on those areas. We've also added the ability to show shadows on a per camera basis. If we go to our default settings for general camera, you have an option to show shadows in all orthographic views or in all perspective views. Close this view and take a new perspective camera view. And shadows are on in our perspective camera view now. Go back to Plan View and select the camera. Click on Open Object. You also have an option to turn on or off shadows in an individual camera. Turn off shadows in this one. Save that camera. Close that view. We'll take a new camera view. Shadows are on in this view. We'll save that camera and close it. Select this view and activate it. Shadows are off in that one. Select this and activate it. And shadows are on in this one. We've also added an option to allow the sun to follow the camera. If we rotate around the back side of the house or the side of the house, we get a dark view depending upon the direction the sun is coming. If we go to the Adjust Sunlight tool, there's an option here to have sunlight follow the camera. Click OK. And now as I rotate around the building, even on what would have been the darker side, sunlight is now following my camera and producing shadows and light on any location around the plan. Go back into default settings and let's take a look at the default settings for our render techniques. We have an option now, not just in vector view, but also in all of the other different rendering techniques, to have opaque glass. And we can see what the technical illustration with opaque glass. Turn off the opaque glass, and we can now see through the windows and see objects inside the building. We'll close that view. And let's take a cross-section elevation view looking at the front of the house. Zoom in to fill the window here. And the modifications and changes we've made to allowing you to show shadows wouldn't be complete without the ability to turn on shadows in a cross-section or elevation view. Go to our lighting tools and toggle shadows. Now let's save this section view for use later on and close that. Close our other full camera. And let's take a look at some changes to the materials list and schedules. Go to the schedule tools and let's take a cabinet schedule, place it here in the plan, and we'll turn on that schedule layer. Let me close the library browser, project browser, and active layer display options to get a little more room here. Select that schedule and open it up, and let's remove a couple of the columns that are here that currently aren't being used. You'll notice two new available columns to add in, 3D elevation and 3D perspective. Let's add that 3D elevation and move that up to number 2 in the list. Click OK. And we see that the elevation view of each of those cabinets has been added to our schedule. If we select the schedule and change the width of the column, the size of that view then will reduce, and you'll also notice that we have the ability to have multi-line text in our schedules. Open that up. Let's remove the 3D elevation and insert the 3D perspective. Instead of the elevation view, I have a perspective view of the cabinet. Delete that schedule and place a window schedule. Open it And let's add that 3D exterior elevation or an interior elevation. And again, move that up to number 2 position. Resize the column, and the view resizes appropriately. And delete that. And let's take a look at a change to the materials list. I'm going to create a materials list for this. And I'll go to the display options, and let's clear everything out of here and turn on just our framing. We have the ability now to switch between types of structural member reporting, whether it be cut list, by list, or linear length. The default right now is set to linear length. Click on the drop down and change to a cut list. And now get a cut list for my materials list information. Switch to a by list, and I now get a by list for all of my framing materials. Let's take a look at our newest addition to our dimension tools. I'm going to reactivate that saved elevation camera we did earlier. And if I go to my default settings for dimensions, you'll see a new auto story pole dimension tool. You take a look at it on the general panel. We can choose where our dimensions are going to go, dimension on the left, on the right, dimensions across the top, and dimensions across the bottom. There are 2 levels of dimension, an inner dimension, and we can have dimensions between elevation markers. For the inner format, units will be in inches, and for the outer format, the units will be in feet, decimal feet with just 1 decimal place. On the Locate Objects panel, you can choose what type of objects those dimensions are going to dimension to. And for elevations, we have an option to include specific items to dimension to, top of foundation. We can click on Rename and change the text that's going to be displayed in that marker. Let's take a look at what these look like. Go to our Dimension Tools and click on Auto Story Pole Dimensions. And here are the automatic dimensions, dimensioning the top of my slab, garage slab, top of subfloor or first floor, showing a dimension of 0 feet. Top of subfloor, second floor. Here's the top of ceiling without a marker. Highest rough ceiling for floor 2, and highest roof plane. These work like any other dimensions. If we select the dimension string, you can remove or add additional dimensions as you see fit. Now let's save that elevation and close that. And let's take a look at moving objects using dimensions. Select this wall. Let's use the 15-foot, 5.5-inch dimension to move that wall out to the right. We can use basic math in our Move Objects with Dimension area here. I can add 3 feet, or 36 inches, and move that out 3 feet. I can use subtraction to move it back 36 inches. And I can use multiplication or division. Say I want to multiply that by 1.5. Instead of 15 feet, we move out to 23 feet. A new polyline tool has been added to the Edit tools. If I select this garage area, for example, take a look here and we see the Make Room polyline tool and the new Make Standard Area polyline tool. This one is in addition to the 2 that were here before, the Make Room Molding polyline and Make Room polyline. We click on the Make Standard Area polyline. A polyline is created for the space that defines what would be calculated in the standard living area for that particular room. In the case of the garage, none of the interior walls are included in that calculation. So the polyline goes to the inside edge of the walls that meet the interior living area. I'm going to take that polyline and move it off to the side, and we'll take a look at another new tool that's been added. If we click on Open Object, we have the ability to add labels to polylines now. We can use an automatic label, or we can click to specify a label. We can insert a macro, whether it be object-specific, a user-defined macro, or something from our plan or file information. If we're specifying our own label, we've added the ability to have multi-line labels. We could enter the area macro and a perimeter macro. Insert the object specific for area, square feet, and perimeter. In inches. Click OK, and our multi-line label is displayed here. The ability to add labels has been added to all polyline-based objects. And next I'd like to take a look at some changes to sending views to layout. Delete this polyline. Let's zoom back in on our project here. Let's open up this saved elevation camera we created earlier. And let's go ahead and send this view to layout. You'll notice a couple of new options when sending to layout. I'll uncheck Make Copy of the Active Set. And since I'm sending a camera view, I have some camera view options that I can choose. I can choose to send a live view. Live views can be updated on demand, or they can be set to always update, so they will automatically update anytime changes are made in the plan. If you have a lot of views that have been sent to layout, always updating can be a strain on the system, so I'll typically leave it set to update on demand. When you go to print, the views will always update prior to the print. Or we can send it as plot lines, which is the typical way we would send a view now. In addition to that, we can also mark that to be color filled. I'll send this one first as plot line with color fill. Referencing the section view layer set, click OK, and we have a color elevation view, including shadows, that we've sent to our layout here. Let's go back to that elevation view, and let's send it again. This time we'll send it as a live view, set to update on demand. Now I'll tile the two views side by side. I have the layout here. Zoom in on that update on demand. Select the window and move the window in the plan. Go back to the layout. We can select that layout view and click on Update the Layout View in the Edit toolbar. The window now has been moved over. Once you've sent a view to layout, you can open that view and change the camera view option. If I'd prefer to have it update always, I can mark it to update always. Now, if I make a change in the plan, the layout view automatically updated to reflect that change. Let's close the layout, save that, and let's close this elevation view. And let's open up one of our perspective camera views that we have. Let's take this camera view and send it to layout. When sending camera views, we don't have to send them just as images any longer. We can send it as a live view, to update always or update on demand, just as we do the elevation views. Select that view and place it where I'd like it to be. And we'll crop a little bit off the side of that. We'll go back to our camera view and close that camera. Double click on that view. It will reopen that camera view for us. Well, let's close and save that layout. And let's take a camera view looking in the kitchen and take a look at a great new change to the Material Painter. Click on the Material Painter tool and select this sable color. Typically, when we click on a wall using the Material Painter, all of the walls in that room will change color. Material's been adjusted for the entire room. Click on Undo, and I can change the Material Painter scoping now to click on Component, click on a single wall, and change the material on just that wall in the room instead of the entire room. Room, floor, and plan scoping still work the same as usual, but component scoping will now paint a single wall within that room. Next areas I'd like to cover have to do with roofs and framing. Let's go to the default settings and open up the roof defaults. Roof defaults have been added so that we can set up all of our defaults for our roof system prior to generating the roof. We go to the structure panel. We've added the ability here to create roof assemblies with multiple layers, very similar to the way we do our floor and ceiling platforms. Using this is great for SIP-type roof assemblies. Click on the Edit button for the roof finish, and we show the asphalt roofing and the OSB. If we want to insert a new layer, we could insert a new layer here and choose a new material. Perhaps we'll put down the felt for our roof, close the insulation and go down to underlayment and put a felt paper layer in here. For structure, we can insert additional new layers, change their thickness, and rearrange their order. In roof framing, we've added the ability to create a curved roof beam. Let me switch to my roof plan layer set, and let's move up to floor 2. Zoom in on this area over the porch. I'll go to the roof beam tool and click and drag to generate a roof beam in this area over this curved roof over the porch. Go to our camera tools and generate a framing overview and zoom in on that curved roof beam. Close this view and let's go down one floor and let's take a look at some changes to our deck framing. Switch to the framing layer set and let's move down one floor and take a look at the deck framing. One nice addition, especially for L-shaped or unusual shaped decks, is the ability to use a joist direction line to determine which direction joists will go on your deck framing. We'll go to the general framing tools and add a joist direction line and change the direction of our joists here. Change that to a 45-degree angle and place our joists at 45. Back up to floor 1 and select that deck and open it up, and we'll go to the deck panel. We've improved the way that our framing works when we use border planks. I'll add 3 border planks to this deck with no border plank against the main wall. And click OK. Move down to floor 0, and you can see the improvements in framing to accommodate the border planks at the ends. Back up to the deck room, and on the deck support panel, you also have the ability now to specify that our beams will be treated as well as our posts. And close that. And let's create a framing schedule. Go to the schedule tools and we'll do a framing schedule. Select this and click on Open Object. And what I'd like to do is create a schedule that shows only items for my deck. So I'll uncheck all of the other items. Check only the deck items. And click OK. Generating a schedule just for items on my deck. Let's select one of the walls here and open up the wall detail. See the wall detail for this area. Zoom out a little bit and scroll down. We'll add a schedule in our wall detail for our framing items. Create a framing schedule here. Click to place that. And let's select this and open it And since there's a lot of material here, let's select everything and turn them off. And let's display just the headers for door and windows. Open the schedule again, and for the label, go ahead and show label. Change the label prefix to H for header, and choose what shape we're going to be using for our callout. A lot of new shapes have been added: ellipse, capsule, triangle, square, and diamond, as well as a rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, and octagon. Click OK, and all of the headers in our wall detail have been labeled, corresponding to our framing schedule. Let's add blocking or bridging to the main layer of our wall framing here. Close this view, and let's take a back clipped cross-section view through that wall. Zoom in on that wall on floor 1, and let's turn on our framing layers. Framing, wall, and wall bridging. Zoom in here. You'll see that the wall bridging details with the new bridging box. If we go to our CAD tools, to the box tools, you'll find a new blocking box that's been added here with a single diagonal line through it. And one last item I want to look at here real quick. We'll switch back to our plan view layer set and go out behind our deck. Take a slab tool, and I'll place a slab with footing out here. Select it and open its specification. I've added the ability to offset our footing on slabs. Give that a 3-inch offset and click OK. You'll see that the slab footing is now offset from the slab itself. Take a back-clipped cross-section view looking through there and zoom in on our slab. Delete that slab, and let's fill the window again. And next I'd like to take a look at changes that we've made to our stair tool. Well, let's move down to floor 0 and zoom in on the stair down here. Select our stair and open the specification dialog. The first thing you'll notice is that we've added a preview for the display of our stair in the dialog box. There's a new panel for brake line, showing in plan view here. Turn on the Has Brake Line, and you'll see the brake line is generated here. The distance from start is set to 50% of the stair's length. You can make modifications to that if you'd like to change that. The brake angle, and you can insert a gap after brake. I'll put a 4-inch gap after the brake, and you can also enlarge the size of the symbol itself. For the current floor display, we're showing an outline after the brake line. You can also say to display nothing after the brake line, or if I prefer to have it look normal on this floor and have the floor above have the outline or nothing showing, then I can change that here as well. On the Newel and Balusters tab, we have a plan display area. Switch my view to show the plan display. Uncheck Use Defaults, and I can have an option to draw newels, balusters, and rails. Rails showing here, and we can include a fill style. Change the fill color. I'll set mine to a pale blue, and our railings will display with a fill. Go to the handrail panel, and there's options here to extend the railing on bottom and top. Let's switch back to a vector view. Widen this out a little bit. And let's add a 6-inch extension on the bottom. You can see the extension added against the wall here, and a 6-inch extension at the top. Then we have the option to return at the bottom and return at the top. If we open up our layer display options and go to stairs, there's a new layer here for stair and ramp details. Turn that on, and we'll show the tread overhang as a solid line and the riser as a dashed line. If you have a stair with a landing, go to the landing tool, click and drag to create a landing, select it and open it up. There's an option for a label, like we've added for all polyline-based objects. We specify a label. We could insert a macro or type in a label of our choice. Look at the macros that are available for the object: area perimeter, rail height, thickness, top height, tread overhang, and tread thickness. Go back into the layer display options. In addition to showing the details, we can also show the stringers for our stair. Well, let me open a new plan and let's take a look at a couple of changes for doors and windows. Activate this saved camera here. Take a look at these two windows that I've bumped together in a corner. I've set my minimum separation for windows to be 0 inches, and I've also checked ignore casing for opening resize in my plan defaults. The two windows bumped together here at the corner. I'll group select these two windows and open them up. And if we go to the frame panel, there's an option now for has corner post when two windows are bumped together at an intersection. Uncheck has corner post and the windows butt together, mitering the glass at the corner. Let's close that view and let's go inside the building. Activate this camera. In an area where we have used the automatic bay, bow, or box window tool, we can add a wall covering to our room. Go to wall coverings and we'll add new. I'll just search for a woven textured wall covering. And I'll set that wall covering to come from floor up to my chair rail. Wall coverings now will continue on inside a bay, bow, or boxed window. And finally, if I select this full height wall cabinet and move it over to this window, the cabinet will bump once it hits the trim items that are on the window. This will apply to any furniture, fixture, or cabinet item bumping up against a door or window trim. And the last area that I want to take a look at today is in our cabinet tools. Let me open up another plan, kitchen remodel, and let's zoom in on the kitchen area. Select one of these saved cameras. The first item that I want to take a look at is the ability to configure the default cabinet front so that it will automatically update all the cabinets in the design that are set to use default. In this case, I've configured my wall cabinet above the range to have arched glass doors. If I take that cabinet and use the Set as Default tool, then my wall cabinets are updated, and all of the cabinets that were using the default have now been modified to use that same new default. We've also added the ability to have a door on a narrow cabinet. Previously, 9-inch width was the smallest cabinet width that would allow a door. In this case, I have a cabinet that's going to have a slide out, and this cabinet is actually only 6 inches wide. I can open this cabinet and change its width from 9 to 6 and still maintain the door. Click OK, move it to the side, and add a filler in between the two, maintaining the door here. You can also multi-select cabinets and make changes to the face items. Go to the front and we'll split this horizontally. Take the bottom and change these from the auto right door to a door panel. Change the style of the door. And we'll just put a raised panel door there. And change that to a double door. And click OK. Being able to modify multiple cabinets' face front items at a single time is a great time saver. If I need to make modifications to all of my cabinets at once, change their height, there's an option now to change the finished floor to top value. Wanted to set those at 94 instead of 90 inches. I can change them all at a single move and then modify the height of any individual cabinets that need to be changed. Go back into the cabinet specification dialog. We also have an option for new type of door style, doors that are hinged at the bottom and doors that are hinged at the top, to create a hopper type door. Let me close this camera view and open up another. I'm going to group select these two cabinets and open them up for specification. When we're making modifications to the front, sides, and back, we now have the ability to edit the back, left side, and right side independently, just as we do the front. The front is currently set to use default. I click on the drop-down and create custom face, then I have the ability to make modifications to the front of the cabinet. If I go to the left side, I can use default, which is to have a finished side, or I click on the drop-down, unfinished or finished, auto-finished. We can also do panel, auto panel, match front, and even custom faces. Tell it to match front. We get a door and drawer on the side. If we go to custom face now, we can make changes to this. Delete the door, select the door, and change that to a panel. The panels on these are also integrated into the side of the cabinet when we're editing cabinets with inset doors. You can control the frame sizes for the sides to produce a singular recessed panel or an inset side panel. Let's open these two cabinets back up. And when we go to edit the face items, once we've made a change to the size of an object, change that to an 8-inch drawer, I can lock that from auto resizing when I make changes to other items on the cabinet. Possibly I want to change this to a drawer as well. Make it a double drawer and set its height to 8 inches. Bottom panel now is a blank area. This is locked from auto resize and the drawer is locked as well. My bottom panel I want to be 10 inches. So I could choose to have one of these, either the double drawer or the drawer at the top, unlocked so that it will modify its size when I change this to a drawer and set its height to 10 inches. The top drawer resized, preserving the size that I wanted for that middle set of drawers. We've also improved the way that feet work on cabinets. If I go to the accessories panel and take a look at the feet, go to the library and I'll choose a bun foot. Click OK. We see cabinet feet set on both sides of the cabinet. If I click OK, since I have selected both of these cabinets, when they merge together, or when they bump together, the feet are missing from the separation here between the two. If I open one of the cabinets and go back to that accessory, I have an option with my feet to be always present. Click OK, and the cabinet then will get feet even where the two bump together. We can also mark those cabinet feet to retain the toe kick. Go to the general panel, and for my toe kick, I'll uncheck flat sides and flat back and click OK. And the toe kick is preserved on this cabinet. You can watch more detailed training videos for all of the new features in X8 by going to our training video website, video.chiefarchitect.com, and choosing the Features Introduced in X8 video series.
Okay, thank you, John, for your presentation. And I wanted to show you quickly where the training videos are located on our website. So under the User Center and under Training Videos, There's a drop down menu here for selecting a video series, and in this list we have features introduced in X8. If you are a user of an older version of Chief Architect, or if you are new to Chief Architect, under our products menu we have a free trial version. So you can download a trial version of either the Premiere or Interiors version here. That's the trial of the new X8 version, and you can test out those features for yourself. So the Chief Architect Premier version is for full residential, light commercial. The Premier version includes the Interiors version. Of course, the Interiors version for kitchen and bath design and interior design. $26.95 and $19.95 for those two versions to purchase the software license. We also have a rent and rent to own option for $199 a month, so you can go to our website and check out that option as well. Thank you for attending. We'll stay on the line here for a few more minutes to answer the rest of your questions. I hope you all enjoyed the presentation on the new features of Chief Architect X8 and hope that you have a great day. Thank you.